we in the office of the Teaching and Learning Center have this resource to draw on. Recording's on? Yep, cool. All
Yeah,
right,
we're good to go.
Madison, take it away.
Okay, so welcome everyone to our sixth and final webinar this academic year on enhancing your productivity with generative AI. We're glad you guys are all sharing some of your precious time with us, and we hope to make that a worthwhile choice on your part. Today, we are going to focus on a couple different productivity and efficiency opportunities targeted mostly at faculty tasks. Our focus today is more on concepts and less on specific tools. However, we will be referencing a number of different tools. We also want to state here at the start that neither Tom nor I have done a super deep dive into any of these examples. We've mostly been curating what other people have said they've done, and then we've tried a task or two in a quick manner to make sure that what folks are saying seems plausible. So if you're looking for really specific nitty-gritty help on each step of a specific procedure, schedule some time with your assigned instructional designer and you can explore that with them. And then finally, like we said earlier, we are a super small group today, so please do not hesitate to ask questions, throw your mic on, throw something in the chat as we go. So we're happy to get slightly off topic and help you out, and we'll have plenty of time to still get through everything.
So I'm going to get us started with the first thing on the agenda, which was the research process and literature review and some of the ways in which AI tools can help you with those things. So this slide here that you're looking at is one that we pulled from a presentation that we experienced back in February. And it highlights just some of the different tools that have the ability to help at very distinct points in the research process. Some of these tools we have tried in the office, things like ChatGPT, Claude, Elicit, Litmaps, Connected Papers, Grammarly, and Jenny. We have a little bit of experience in our office with those different tools. Some of the other ones that you see up there, we have not had a chance to try yet. We were mentioning before this started that there's something, what did I say, 12,000, 16,000? There's a lot of AI tools out there. We do not have time to try them all. And some of these tools are free. Some of them are under freemium models where you get some things for free and then you have to start paying, and others you have to pay right out of the gate. The point with this is not so much about specific tools, but that you can find AI tools for lots of different very targeted tasks. And you can usually find multiple AI tools for different targeted tasks. And so if there is a task that you encounter that you're like, I want some help with this, you can work with us in the TLC and we can try out some things and find something that's going to help you and fit in that particular context. So that first step on the previous slide was one of drafting an outline or maybe coming up with a research question. And that's something that you can ask a tool like ChatGPT to do. So what you see on the screen is a little bit of a prompt framework that can kind of help you develop the prompts that go into the AI tool. So the first thing you want to do is give the AI some sense of what role it's supposed to take. So I'm a college professor, I'm a marketing writer, I'm a researcher. Then the second step in the prompt is to tell it, what do you need? Create a proposal, create a summary, make it like this other thing. The third step there is where you add in your requirements, so your specifications. Sometimes folks like to do that as a series of steps. First, go look for this piece of information, then summarize it, then take that summary and turn it into a slide. That's just one example of a sequence of steps you might ask it to do. And then the last bit is what do you need, right? Do you need a summary? Do you need an outline? Do you need information for a slide? And so we'll come back to this prompt framework a couple of different times throughout the presentation today. So this is an example of a prompt for developing a research question. So take a moment to read that. And the piece that I really like here is that last sentence where you can ask it to do more than one version. And in fact, a lot of these tools will already have multiple versions of your request built in. Microsoft's Copilot is like, do you want 5 more options or 30 more options? So this is one way that you could bring AI tools into the work that you do to help potentially speed things up. So after you have a research question, you want to go see what's out there in the academic literature. And there are tools like Elicit, which is what I'm showing you on the screen, that can do that. So I'm typing in a question. I didn't ask a particularly great question there. If I had a better research question, I think I would have gotten better results. But I got a list of 10 sources related to that question relatively quickly. And as I scroll down the page here, you'll see that it gives me like a very brief abstract summary. And if I wanted to, for a particular article, I could get a more detailed summary. And these are all generated by AI. Now, this tool is not free. You get 10,000 credits when you sign up for free. And then once those are used up, you have to start paying. And that initial search that I'm showing you here through this GIF was about 300 credits. So you have a little bit of time to explore and experiment with it. And if you think it's useful and helping you with your research, then you would have to start paying for more options there.
Can I ask you a question? Can I
Yes,
ask
you
you a question
can.
about? Okay, so for ChatGPT, I've noticed that it'll give you fake resources a lot of the
Correct.
time.
Yep.
I mean, do we feel like Elicit, have we checked
So
it to see?
I haven't specifically checked it in the
Okay,
sense of like I've checked every little thing, but Elicit is a different AI tool than
right.
ChatGPT. It's designed to go look at databases and pull back actual resources. So
Okay,
for them to come up with something falsely completely made up would break the purpose of their tool.
okay, that's helpful to know. Thank you.
Yeah. If you dig into their literature, they kind of give you a sense of where they pulled from. Um, my perception, and it could be wrong, is that they're not as comprehensive across all the journals as I think I would have liked them to be. But still, the ability to get things like that I can then work from speeds up the process even just a little bit would be helpful. So another tool that's similar but a little different, this one's called Lit Maps. If you already have a seed article, something related to your topic, and you put it in here, it's going to show you the connections to other articles that are already out there and kind of give you a sense, like you can see with the one I'm playing with here, of like how things fed into each other and were cross-cited. There's another tool that does something similar to this called Connected Papers. That also, I think it's Connected Papers, that shows like number of citations for certain articles. And so this can kind of help situate work that you're exploring in the broader field. So it's another one that I think could be useful when you're engaged in the literature review process. Okay, so you can use multiple AI tools, multiple large language models to help you get some different perspectives as you're engaging in a research process. So in this example that's being articulated on the screen by Jason, who happens to also be the upcoming recap keynote speaker, recaps in what, 2 weeks, 3 weeks? He talks through how he used a couple different tools to get some different perspectives. He used Google's Gemini, OpenAI's ChatGPT, Perplexity AI, and U.com. And he used them to kind of grab different sets of data. And then he took all that and ran it through something called a GPT, which are customized uses of ChatGPT that do require a pro account. And he got a nice synthesis and a list of sources. And he was able to do this in, from what I understand, less than 10 minutes. And prior to AI tools, this was something that took him a couple hours to do. So if this is intriguing to you, this sequence of steps seems interesting, you can use this very broad outline to try it yourself, or you can ask him in a couple of weeks to give you some more details, and he might be able to fill some of that in. Now, I took one specific article, which was like a subsection of what Jason was doing there, and put it into Claude here and asked it to summarize it for me. This happened to be an article that I co-wrote, so I have some sense of what goes into it. And I would say that it did a really good job of getting that summary accurate. There were a few things I could probably nitpick with, but nothing at a level that I'd be worried about when I was doing more of an initial scan of the literature or trying to get some big picture ideas down. I'd probably still want to go back and read it if it was something that was going to be really important to the argument I was trying to make. But again, in that helping to bring some things together and speeding up the process of understanding, I could see some real value here with a tool like this. And Claude is free. And Claude is particularly good at taking documents, digital documents, and giving summaries back. So that's
Can I
why
ask you another question? Is that
yes,
okay?
ask away. Please do.
Okay.
Interrupt.
So the way I'm trying to understand, like, just say you wanted to give feedback about this article and you noticed it should have been better. I mean, does it become smarter when you put the new prompts in or when you try to correct it, or is there a way to do that? I'm just trying to figure out like how that would work, like how it can get better.
Yeah. So
Does that make sense? Okay.
yeah, I think I have heard of instances where you can keep working within the same set of stuff and help like train it to some extent. So I know such concept exists. I just personally haven't been able to do it yet. And I don't know if this is the specific tool that would do it. So Bree, I believe there is a concept that like there is the possibility of doing that. We would need to dig into that a little bit more.
Okay, yeah, no, I was just curious because that would be helpful, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have heard of like you can get an AI model and train it on your own writing so that it like starts to sound a lot like you. That is a possibility. Um, and it's one of the reasons why I don't think AI detectors are all that reliable anymore. You can just train it on somebody's writing style. All right, so let me
Could I
go.
ask a question, please?
Yeah, go for it.
Um, I missed the beginning. I mean, how do you get into this program? So you just go to claude.com and it
I
opens up and it asks you, I want the step number one. I
yeah.
mean, I see what it can do, but how do I get into this? How do I get there?
So if you like Google Claude AI, it will come up as a
Claude
link
AI,
as
okay.
a tool website you can visit. You do have to sign up for a free account, but then
You sign up with them or you sign up through
you
Westchester?
you sign up with them. There are very few AI tools that you do through Westchester at the moment.
Okay.
Um,
And then, all right.
Claude is what I would call one of the big ones. Most people are familiar with ChatGPT. That's
Right.
from a company called OpenAI. That is one of the major ones. They are heavily underwritten by Microsoft, and a lot of what Microsoft's AI is just that put into the Microsoft tools. Google's doing its own thing. Theirs keeps getting renamed, but it's currently called Google Gemini. And then Claude is the other big one that's out there at the moment that is starting to get some funding from Amazon, but up until recently was mostly on their own. So they're kind of the big ones that
But
are out there.
once I've signed up for it, then how do I use this? That's my question. How do I?
You put a prompt into it, and in this case, because I wanted it to summarize the document, I gave it the document as well. I just
So that is what shows here. You put in that question, and then
yes.
it summarized as quickly as it shows here on the page.
Yes, this was a screen recording of me doing this. I just wanted
Wow.
to have it pre-recorded to make it easier to present.
Yeah, but
That
you
is real time.
always go onto something else on your computer. You go. No, now I don't see it anymore. The
Yeah,
previous.
when I was the article upload was just, it was on my computer and I just uploaded it right to the tool. So
Oh, I see. So it didn't have to look for it.
I didn't look for it. I gave it the article and the question, the
Okay.
prompt.
So do we have to give it the article, or can you just say do that, and if you don't have the article, they can find it for you?
It depends on the tool. That particular tool, you have to give it the article. But
I see.
if you're using one of Microsoft's, if you're using Microsoft's Copilot and the article is freely available on the internet, it can go find it.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. So we also do data analysis in our research, right? And there are tools that can help with that. However, this is a space that we would caution you to be very careful in. Because if data is not completely and totally anonymized, there's some real risk that you're violating privacy if you're putting data into an AI tool. We are not in the TLC real comfortable with a lot of the ways that AI tools use anything you put into it. There's not a lot of good data protections in place. So with that said, you really should not be putting student work into AI tools without 100% clear understanding of how that tool is using that data. So this is kind of our caution against without further guidance, we don't suggest doing data analysis with AI tools right now. And we definitely do not recommend putting student work in for grading purposes. It's one thing if you have an activity where you're asking students to explore AI tools in the context of the classroom. It's another thing when you're trying to use it to help accelerate your grading process. There's a considerable amount of FERPA risk that we don't have good understanding on yet. If you were to put student work into an AI tool. The other thing is you don't own the copyright to student work, the student does. So student really should be deciding how it's getting used with AI tools. So until IT gives us more guidance, we are being very cautious in this space. Hopefully that makes sense for everybody here. All right, so that was just kind of an overview of some ways that you potentially can use Gen AI tools to help you in that research process. Again, if you want to go deeper in any of that, find your instructional designer and set aside some time and we can dive in. What you see on the screen here are just two different examples of prompts that you could put in to potentially help you with the research process. So create a literature search on this topic using this methodology, see what comes back. What are some other major authors? These are ways that you could help accelerate that process. Moving on, another efficiency, help you out way of using the AI tools is with class planning. So here's that prompt framework again, and I used it to come up with the following prompt. You are a college professor teaching the basic structure of an academic article. Create a lesson plan for a 50-minute class to teach college students about the parts of an academic journal article. Make sure the lesson incorporates active learning. Include the time for each portion of the lesson. So that was the prompt I came up with using this framework, and I put it into Microsoft's Copilot, and this is what it gave me. And that's in real time, by the way. Like that's the speed at which it's coming back. I didn't speed it up. And it looks like it's done. So this is it in text form. I just brought it onto a slide. Sorry for the small font, but I wanted to keep it all on one slide. So I put about a minute worth of effort into writing that prompt and got a whole lesson structure back in about, what, another minute, 30 seconds, 45 seconds. So that was just one tool. That was Microsoft Copilot. I did the exact same thing with Claude. Same prompt, didn't change a thing with the prompt. I was curious, so, what would be the difference, right? That lesson went a little faster. So here it is in text form. I actually like the Claude one just a little bit better because I think the Microsoft one broke the time down too small for what is realistic in a 50-minute class. But what I like about this is I now have two things that I can work from, full lesson plans that I can start to mix and match with my own expertise without having had to come up with anything real quick. So I can weave all that in and have a lesson concept idea, some structure. And if one of the activities was, we're going to engage in a discussion, I could go back to an AI tool and say, give me 5 discussion questions on this specific topic. And it would give me some things to work from, right? And it's not necessarily that my expertise is being taken away. It's just giving me an opportunity to generate some of the work first that I can then work from, that I can use my expertise to make better, or to give me some ideas that I might not have thought of, right? If I was asked for a list of 10 questions, I might have come up with 8, but the AI can come up with 2 that I might not. I'm still getting some value that way. So I see this as a way to accelerate the process, right? I can go faster and then have time to do other things. Here are 3 examples of other course planning related prompts that you could put into an AI tool. Especially like Microsoft's Copilot for the first one there. Find me 5 relevant videos on this topic that are this long and give me a little short summary of each one. All of these are possibilities. On the, this is like a related thing, but also something you can use in other places in your work is brainstorming. So I'm going to keep this brainstorming concept focused on the teaching side of things. But you could use it in other capacities. For example, we're getting ready for an event and we needed a script to introduce somebody. We asked the AI to give us a script to introduce the person and then took that initial work and made it our own. And it saved me about 5 minutes worth of writing that out that I wouldn't have otherwise had to do. So here's our prompt framework again. And this is the prompt that I came up with for brainstorming. You're a college professor teaching the basic structure of an academic article. Generate some creative ways to teach these concepts using active learning strategies. And here was what I got. I won't bore you with watching it generate the results this time. So what is that? 7 different ideas. But now this is where I want to get into a little bit about what it comes back. So can somebody in the audience pick one of these 7 concepts for me? I don't care. Somebody just pick one. Anybody?
Article reconstruction.
All right, article reconstruction. Thank you, Nicole. So provide students with a chopped up version of an academic article where sections, paragraphs, and sentences are mixed up, and then students have to work either individually or in pairs to reconstruct the article in the correct order. As a college faculty, professor, person that teaches, what do you think of that activity for teaching the structure of a journal article? What do we think?
It may be a bit simplistic, I guess.
Okay.
But maybe at like sort of an argument level, maybe within like the methodology section or within an introduction, I could maybe see like the order of paragraphs being more important. But if it's just like put the order of the intro and then the methods and then results together, that seems a bit simplistic. But within a section, I think it could be helpful for sort of argument development.
That I could not have asked for a better, like, take that apart, Nicole, because you're bringing your expertise in there. Like the concept, the idea is like, I could see this working, but here's how I'm going to make it that much better, right? Because I'm in the same place with you on that. Like I do something similar with students, but there's more depth, there's more nuance to it. And I think that's a good example when we're talking about instructional strategies and getting activity ideas. For example, one of these, role play. The students have to play the role of author, reviewer, editor, and have them act out the process of writing and reviewing an academic article. I don't know that like, to me, if I'm trying to teach a journal article structure, that doesn't really work. I would toss that one out. Role plays for this concept, but I have 7 to draw from. There's probably 1 or 2 in here that might be helpful. Like peer-reviewed paper race. Students have the different sections jumbled up and they have to like race to get them in the right, or like there's a possibility there as something fun to like check their understanding. So, and again, it took me all of a minute to generate these. So there's some real possibility in the brainstorming space. Enough for me. I'm going to turn over to Madison and let her go.
All right, so now we're going to take a look at how you can quickly clean up some of your writing with Grammarly. So Grammarly is free to use. There are some additional premium features if you sign up for a paid account. Someone in our office actually pays for it herself and she loves it. So you can upload a document, and for this example, we're just going to look at the demo provided for now.
Should I go next slide?
Going to make suggestions to the writing based on correctness, engagement, delivery, and style. You can see here where the red and blue are underlined. That's where you're going to click on the text, and then you'll see the suggestion pop up on the right-hand side, and you can apply it or not apply it.
I was curious, like if
Ability
we,
data, you can
Oh.
say, go ahead.
oh, Madison, sorry.
No, you're fine.
The editor in Word is like, have we looked at that compared to Grammarly at all? Because so
I
much of
haven't-
it is
yeah.
Premierly. Okay.
I
So much
haven't
is
compared
premium.
it, but I know the other instructional designer in our office, Amber, she loves Grammarly, and you can also have a plugin on your desktop so that it's online in your browser, in your email. It can provide suggestions across everything. I haven't compared it though, so that is an interesting thing we could explore.
Yeah, I use both, and I find that it's frustrating if you don't have the premium account because you're like,
Yeah.
what do they want? Yeah.
Yeah. So you can set goals for audience, formality, and intent. So if you want your writing to be written for a more general audience, you can adjust. You can also change your writing to become more formal or informal. We have some writing prompt ideas that kind of illustrates that on the next slide. So, for example, with this second one, instead of you can use this across any kind of AI if you want to use it with ChatGPT, Microsoft Copilot. Instead of just asking for a letter of rejection, you might instead want to ask for a personal 75-word letter. The more prompt you give, the better response you're going to get. And next, do we have a question in the chat?
No, Nicole was just telling us
Okay.
that she definitely recommends Grammarly to her students and
Okay.
better than Word at recognizing context and word choice issues. And just adding some anecdotal things that I'm hearing, I definitely think our students are utilizing Grammarly to try to improve the writing that they're turning into folks. And it does have built-in AI writing pieces to it. So it's something to keep in mind.
Next, productivity wise, something that takes up a lot of time sometimes is drafting meeting summaries. So you can quickly do that now with Zoom's built-in AI feature. This is, so basically Zoom now has an AI companion and it allows meeting hosts. So if you have a course, to initiate an AI generated summary for their meeting. So this is a screenshot kind of set up that feature. You can only turn on the AI through the Zoom web portal. So if you have the app on your desktop, you can't turn it on there. This is just a screenshot of the 3 steps you need to turn it on. But again, feel free to reach out to your instructional designer if it's not something you feel comfortable doing. We can help you out with that. There are some options you'll be able to choose from, like if you want Zoom to send the summary to meeting participants directly after the this is a feature we have used in the office a lot already, and the summaries are pretty good. I'll show you that in a minute, but we definitely recommend having the summary sent to yourself first to allow for quick cleanup before distribution. Here is a screenshot of when Tom used it for an AI webinar back in November. This is the summary that the Zoom AI sent. It provides a quick recap and next steps by their last name, so just picking up the data from Zoom. But overall, it's really not too bad. And the next slide is the rest of the summary. Again, some names need to be cleaned up, but it really does save a lot of time writing up a summary, especially if you have a long meeting or a long course and you can't even remember what happened, in the first 10 minutes. So we noticed that this definitely has a business focus or lens in the way that it approaches summaries. And we suspect that's just because the business, use data that Zoom used to train this model. So in addition to the Zoom AI, another tool with access to AI capabilities at Westchester is Padlet. So here are some of the things you can create with Padlet's built-in AI feature. Tom, can you change this slide?
Right. Yep. I'm
Thanks.
responding to Bree.
It's okay. So there's 8 things to do. I tested out lesson plan and classroom activities list. So we'll take a look at those. So for the lesson plan, I prompted it to provide, it prompted me to provide some information like subject, grade level, topic. It does offer a higher ed option, which is nice. Not all tools do that. I left the standards and additional details blank for this one. I did world history and Spanish Civil War just to see what would come up. And this is what it created for me. It provided me with some learning objectives. I would say, okay, they could use some work, but they're not the worst I've seen. And it also provided some instructional activities like a video, guided practice idea. There's a formative and summative assessment, closure, homework, and as we kind of have said throughout this, we wouldn't really recommend using this word for word, but it's definitely a good place to start from a brainstorming standpoint for different things to do in your class. So the other option that I tested out was the classroom activities list. We all know it can sometimes new things to try out, especially if you're covering a new topic. So I asked for a British literature course studying Dracula, and I said our class had computers and library resources and consisted of 25 students and was an hour long. And this is what it gave me. So it's going to cover the next two slides because it was a lot. And there's basically just some ideas that I think are pretty good. Some of the things are things that I did as an undergrad freshman in a literature course while reading Dracula. So that's kind of how I compared how good this was. So we have of doing a historical context exploration, a virtual tour of Transylvania, some scholarly critique ideas, comparative lit and thematic group discussion, and a narrative structure workshop. And the next slide are some more ideas. Overall, if you're looking to try something new, like I said, or you're exploring a new concept, this might be a nice tool to kind of get you off, on a good brainstorm. Keep in mind, students with access to Padlet might be using this themselves. And so we showed you two examples of how AI is being integrated into tools that you may already be using, Padlet and Zoom. So keep an eye on the other tools that you might be using because they might also be starting to implement some AI in the background or to various aspects.
Microsoft is a good example of that. They're
Yes.
bringing their
And
AI tool into
D2L, I know,
product.
is starting to want to do some AI stuff. So we'll see how that looks.
Before we shift over to discussion and conversation at this point, I think it's a good time to remind you here of this comment from Justin Rademakers, who's in the English department. Because you probably heard us talking a lot in the last half hour about efficiency, speeding things up. And I think it's good to keep in the back of our mind that we want to be doing those things if it's helping us improve our general humanity and the human quality of life. But we want to be careful about innovating for efficiency that is not benefiting everyone. And a good example of that is we don't want to be using AI to teach completely independent without any human interaction or human components being brought into that as well. I don't think that's a benefit for everybody. But it's a good reminder here that we want to be attentive to the ways that we are bringing efficiency into our workflows. And Justin has lots of good things to say about AI, so it's never a bad thing to highlight his work. All right, so we touched on a couple different topics. We went pretty broad. We want to open it up as we have on these webinars for discussion and hear what questions you still have and what are your thoughts. So for the three of you that are still with us, you can come off mic and let's go for it. And I'm going to stop the recording too at this point, so we can say whatever we want.